How's it going, everybody? This video here is long overdue and has been requested quite a lot. I've done a worst feats and an underrated feats video. Both have sparked quite a few discussions. Sometimes people simply disagreed with my reasoning. Other times people thought that I forgot to mention specific ones. And it's probably not going to be any different here. The intention of this video is to present the overall best feats that are currently in the game. There might be niche situations where a totally different feat outshines everything else, but this is not the topic today. This is also not a per character list where I tell you the best in slot. No, the overall best feats that you all probably see every time you play, because a lot of them aren't secrets. For most of them, it's plain obvious how strong they are. There obviously will be disagreements, so feel free to give me your reasoning for why you think I forgot something or made a wrong argument. Then let's begin. The first three I'm going to mention are feats that are currently banned for tournaments. Even if you don't care for tournaments, the fact that players and organizers agreed that it is better, fairer and more enjoyable to play without these should already tell you a lot. They don't randomly ban something because they don't like it. Those three present actual issues that will need addressing. I'll talk more about that at the end. But yeah, those three are Stun Trap, Bear Trap and Second Wind. Second Wind is obvious, but we'll talk about heals in just a second. Let's talk traps first, because these are the ones that might not immediately jump to mind for a lot of players when they think best feats. We actually see a lot of people not run them because they don't really consider them all that strong, or maybe it doesn't fit their playstyle. Whatever the reason, traps are an amazing tool, and if used right, force the opponent into a lot of moves that they'd rather try to avoid. I've made a complete trap guide video going over placement, timings, punishes and much more. I highly recommend that one. Who would have thought? There are a few reasons I want to mention here though. By now everyone should be familiar with the fact that traps can be hidden in terrain, so no matter how much attention you pay to your surroundings, unless you've seen your opponent place the trap and you know its exact location, you can never be sure whether those two stairs, that corpse or that random rubble over there isn't hiding a trap. And that's exactly what makes them such a good tool to defend a point. A lot of maps have very narrow entrances that don't give you a lot of options. Hell, a lot of points have only two pathways to reach them most of the time. And I'm looking at you, shout A point. Most of the time, these can easily be blocked off, not only by players, but also with traps. Stun Trap's radius is huge, and you don't even need to place it underground. Hiding behind a corner is enough a lot of the time. And then this forces you to roll through all these possible trap locations. You should be familiar with what kind of punishes this opens you up to. And I'm not even talking about getting hit by the trap. Lots of characters, including Shaman, who does use these traps, can punish you on the reaction to seeing you roll through them. Contrary to how people think Shaman is played, her sitting on a point that is littered with traps makes it extremely hard and annoying to approach it and try to contest it. One wrong move and you immediately are on the back foot. And that's in general something a lot of you have probably experienced as well. The resurgence of Warlord and points like C on High Fort or Temple Garden have probably caused some extra legend for pretty much everyone. So the strength of these feats is a combination of map design, mostly the Dominion points, both the fact that you have limited entry points, as well as the overall point design with tons of possibilities to hide the traps, as well as the environmental hazards scattered everywhere. Should it be possible to hide traps underground and make them completely invisible? Absolutely not. Should you be able to hide them within corpses, around corners and so on? Well, to a degree I guess. These feats should serve a purpose, but being totally overbearing and completely frustrating when trying to enter a point, that should be what's looked at. Moving on, Second Wind is next. Or rather, healing feats in general, but let's talk about Second Wind first. It had its cooldown nerfed a few months back already, yet it still is one of the most broken feats that we currently have in the game. Little tangent here. I personally think that using cooldowns to balance feats is often a futile attempt. If a skill is so strong that you need to slap an extra long cooldown on it, it usually points to something different. It will still be insanely strong when it's up. But yeah, pretty much every character that can run it will have it as their tier 3. I think the only real exception we see is Centurion because of how busted Pugio is in combination with the follow-up cutscene, but other than that, it is, without question, a best in slot feat. Not only does it heal for 50 HP, on top of all that it removes all bleed and fire off you. The fact that it cleanses all dot damage is an insane advantage of it. Especially when you play a hero like Shaman or Peacekeeper, it's insanely demoralizing to see someone remove a shit ton of potential damage and then on top of all that heal for another 50. But this also goes for some feats. Nail Bomb, a tier 4 feat that can mean instant death, is an absolute joke for someone who has second window. It might end up in a little bit of damage, but characters without it just outright die. What I'm trying to get at here is that one button press shouldn't completely negate it, which is one of the main balancing factors that need to be looked at for it. Nail Bomb is not a strong feat simply because second wind exists. This same issue, the cleansing of bleeds or dots in general, is present for the healing banner. The second it's plopped down, all dots are removed and you can basically sit inside fire and out-heal it. Like I mentioned before, this is extremely frustrating if you play a character that relies on applying these dot effects. All of a sudden you are completely negated for the full duration of the banner. You don't have a lot to fear when a friendly banner is nearby. It's very rare that you can out-damage the healing effect, and it's usually multiple people around anyways. These two are the top healing feats. But in general, if your character has access to feats that heal them, it's usually a good idea to pick them. Jormungandr's tier 1 feat, Shaolin's tier 3, or Blackbriar's Bulwark heal. The latter one being especially frustrating to face sometimes. The remaining ones, Heal on Block and Soothing Mist, were already gutted by Ubisoft. Back when JJ released, one of the main reasons he was picked in competitive play was because of the insane team healing power that came with Soothing Mist. But not anymore, it's not worth to pick it any longer. But moving on to the tier 4s now, the big damage feats. There are currently just two that really stand out, and that is Fire Flask as well as Spear Storm. Arrow Storm has never been an outstanding one, and Catapult received a massive nerf to its deploy time, making it easily avoidable in most instances. But the two I mentioned before do not have those issues. Fire Flask is an amazing area denial tool that does damage on explosion as well as in the form of fire damage, which allows for chip damage to kill. It also clears opposing minions while not damaging your own ones, meaning you do not feed points to the enemy unintentionally. Spear Storm is just instant burst and basically allows for a guaranteed teamfight win if deployed correctly. The spears stagger, and if you get hit by just one, it usually means any follow-up ones will finish you off. A downside is that it does significant damage to teammates as well, and it's not that rare to see team kills with it. In Highlander's case, who has access to both of these, when do you pick which one? That's pretty much map dependent, because Spear Storm, same as Catapult and Arrow Storm, are called from outside the map, I guess, meaning you cannot use it indoors. The second there is a roof over your head, these feats cannot be used anymore. This is one of the major advantages that Fire Flask has. Because it is a throwable, it can be used absolutely everywhere without any limitations because of map design. As it stands now, there really isn't any reason to pick anything else if you have access to either of these. I guess I should mention Lawbringer's bombs as well. The fact that he gets 4 of them is just insane. But yeah, that's not the biggest problem this character has. Moving on, then there is another unique tier 4 that shits on basically everything in the form of making your whole team pretty much invulnerable to damage. Blackbriar's Umbral Shelter feat does exactly that. It's 9 seconds off, I no longer care what you do to me. The shield refreshes 3 times in that duration. If deployed correctly, this can immediately swing a team fight. Yes, it has a long cooldown and all, but it's very rare that you see tier 4s used multiple times anyways. I don't really see this as an argument when it comes to the effectiveness of a feat. The only real workaround are either Oathbreaker, which is single target, or Environmentals. And then there is one more feat I want to mention, Lucius Caltrops. The character as it stands now is the least picked among all heroes. She sits at a 0.9% pick rate overall, meaning you very rarely see her and thus very rarely see the feat. But it is without a question a best in slot feat for her, and the effectiveness of it is also insane. It is complete area denial and the damage output is also immense. Not only that, the same goes for duration. Deployed in the minion lane, this means none of the opposing soldiers will reach the front line for the next 25 seconds. And it has a measly 45-second cooldown. It does kill friendly minions just as easily, so you should only ever throw them down on the opposing side. And the same goes for Breach pretty much, even pikemen absolutely melt when they walk over them. Lucia isn't considered a strong character at the moment, but should that ever happen, then this feat needs a closer look at. A tier 2 feat with that ridiculous amount of impact on the map, with barely any cooldown, can be an absolute menace. I want to finish this video by talking about what I mentioned at the very beginning, the banning of feats in tournaments. We did have this happen already, Soothing Mist, Heal on Block, Morale Boost and Scout were all banned at one point. And all of these have seen considerable nerfs to them. I've been sitting on these clips for so long, so these are still the old powerful team buffs. They used to be almost mandatory at one point, but are now almost useless because of their low values and short duration. Ubisoft seems to like the approach of nerfs more than buffs, so we can expect future changes to reflect that. And one more thing, I know that there are feats out there that are absolutely hated by some. This includes stuff like Last Laugh or Rocksteady for example. These will get an extra video with some extra ranting from me, because I do believe that some feats should rather be replaced than reworked. As much as I doubt this will ever happen, it never hurts talking about it. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the whole thing. Let me know if you think I should have included anything else or left some out. I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.